Hey, welcome everybody to our newest episode of Pathetic, the podcast. I'm your host, Ted Daniels. I also have my co-hosts, Mikey C and Jeff with us. Guys, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I am excited. The weather's going to warm up this week. We are ready to go into the nice part of the weather here in the Northeast. So, Jeff, how are we doing today?
I'm doing good, brother. Same thing. I'm fighting a little bit of a cold because the North Carolina weather has been absolutely crazy. It's 45 one day, 65 the next, 25 the next, so it's kind of bouncing, but feeling good and ready to do round two with you guys. I'm excited.
Yeah, I listened to it, our first episode. I thought it was pretty good. I'm hoping that we get this one up on YouTube so people can see our ugly mugs. And,
Well,
and
let's
then we'll
not
go.
get too crazy. So,
Now, listen, before we go any further, I just want to mention that if you listen to the show, thank you so much. Please, if you can, like and subscribe both on whatever audio platform you listen to podcasts on, but also when we get it up on YouTube, it really will help a lot. Also, we've gotten some emails this week, and people have made some suggestions on what they want to hear, what they would like us to touch on. And we definitely encourage that. Our email address is patheticthepodcast@gmail.com. You'll see that kind of on the bottom as we're doing the show. But yeah, I'm excited about this. Mike, also, I did talk to Smalls, and I told him my idea of when he is at the Jets game, the drunk rage texting, and he loves it. So,
I mean, the world needs to see those text messages because
no question.
it's just the typical Jet fan going through the ups and the downs of the game, having a first down, thinking we're going to win the Super Bowl, to the next drive an interception, and then we're back to firing everybody, and this team is terrible, and just the ups and the downs. I think everyone needs to see that, and if you're not a Jet fan, this will give you the insight as to what it's like to be one of us.
Now, the question is there foul language to where we have to actually block out some words?
Yeah, I will have to block out some words.
Yeah, we probably will have to block out some stuff, but
Jeff,
I've been there.
It gets so bad at times, and Michael attests to this. I have to tell him I'm going 0 dark 30. I'm going dark, and then I'm done. And then it's either because I'm frustrated or I just can't. I can't keep reaching for the phone to answer the text.
Yep.
It gets crazy.
I have a group that does the same exact thing, so I completely get it.
Oh, but this was an exciting week. I mean, we'll talk about it later, but we had spring training pretty much starting up, a lot of rumors in the NFL. But for me, you guys know, I am a hockey guy. I mean, that is I'm passionate about hockey. And I thought the Four Nations tournament, in place of all the All-Star game bull crap, was amazing. Were you guys able to see much of it?
Oh, I was locked in on these games. I'm going to leave the political stuff out of it, but putting on the red, white, and blue, getting everybody behind the flag, just hearing everybody going nuts when it comes to, rooting for the team, rooting for guys who I would never root for in my life as a diehard Rangers fan, rooting for Jack Hughes to score some goals. It felt refreshing. The first game where they fought, USA Canada fought in the opening round.
Yeah.
3 fights in 9 seconds. You just got the blood pumping. You were just ready to go. And that game the other night, the championship game, was just great hockey. I mean, it felt like a Game 7. The crowd was into it. Everyone was into it from there. And, you just wish that, they would have stopped Connor McDavid from going down the middle. But, that's Adam Fox in the defense for the Rangers. That's how we do it. So.
Yeah, it was a great game, and I'm not the biggest hockey guy, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah,
I tune in more towards the end of the season than heading into the playoffs, but I was certainly locked into this game, and it was not just a great game; it was also a great night for hockey, right?
Yeah.
Because even the people that don't consistently follow hockey, it was great for them too. People like myself, right? I mean, you had people battling back and forth. And on the flip side, you wonder this though, right? Like, is it worth it? Is it worth risking the injuries in an exhibition game during the season, right? Even though that game means so much from like a national standpoint, I get it. But I think if you root for a team and you lose a player to a season-ending injury, it kind of puts a damper on the game, right? But it was obviously, listen, I hate to say it, a great night for Canada, but it was a better night for the NHL. And these
Yeah.
leagues they're always trying to find ways to captivate a new audience, and the NBA needs to take notes because this is how you do it.
But Jeff, the one thing about hockey, and I agree, I would not have wanted to lose Jack Hughes or Jesper Bratt to an injury. But the one thing about NHL players, especially if you watch that last game, Matthew Tkachuk tried so hard to, to really get into that game. And his brother Brady was hurt. And when you looked at the end of that game, guys like Gunsel and Brady and Slavin, they were gassed. And yet they wouldn't even think of taking themselves out. Because in Canada and now the United States, it's more important to win a cup, to represent your country. I was watching Spittin' Chicklets with Bissonnette and Ryan Whitney, and they were talking about guys being out, like a guy like Jimmy Butler sitting out in the NBA. And Keith Yandel told Bob from Bob Does Sports, he said that would never fly in the NHL. He said because not so much that the GM or the owner would get involved. He goes, we as players would say, listen, either play or get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
That's their mentality because it is more, even though hockey's expensive, it was more of a blue collar mentality and a love of the game. If you don't, listen, you don't play hockey if you don't love it, because I played hockey when I was a kid. It's 4 a.m. on a Saturday and a Sunday. It's 11 p.m. on Wednesday nights and Friday nights when the public skating was finished. And if you didn't really dedicate yourself, why would you get up that early or stay up that late or be that cold in the middle of February? Hockey players are different. They're just different.
Yeah, it's different than, basketball and even football to a degree, because when we were kids, right. I played hockey too when I was younger. I think Uncle Teddy, you went to a bunch of my games when I was younger.
Yeah.
And it's a sport that you have to dedicate a lot of time to, right? There's not a lot of pickup hockey games like there were basketball games. So if you were invested in hockey, it was your love. And I could say the same thing about the fan base. I mean, you can make the case that hockey, like the dedicated hockey fan, you'd be hard pressed to find a bigger fan than somebody who's truly dedicated to that sport. So I agree 100%.
Now the question is I don't know how you can go back to the regular East versus West format of the divisions or anything else when it comes to all-star games going forward, because the way that this captured the casual sports fan and the casual even hockey fan were locked into this. I think you got to do this at least every other year going forward. I know next year they're not going to have it because the Olympics are in Milan and the NHL players are going there, so you'll have an Olympic break. You're going to have the exact same thing next year. But I think in 2027 you got to do something similar, even if it's the same thing as they do for the regular game and have it in one day and have it be 3-on-3, but do it by countries. I think you could really do something where you're going to continue this momentum going, because the NHL is going to capitalize on this. You're going to see the ratings go up. And I just think that all the other leagues are going to try to do something similar. I don't know how the NBA could do this, but I certainly think Major League Baseball is thinking World Baseball Classic has got to get some more juice to it. Maybe try to build some rivalries there. And obviously the NFL, you can't do that either. But I think if you're looking at any other league, it's going to try to do something similar to this to try to build this kind of momentum going.
Mike, how about 3-on-3, USA, Canada, and then the world? And you can do it. Let's say you do it in 2 days. You do a round robin tournament on the Saturday, and on the Sunday, whoever survives, instead of going 3-on-3, you go regular hockey, one game,
Yeah,
right?
I
Call
like
Gary
it.
Bettman, Jeff. Get Bettman on the line.
Yeah, well,
I'm on it.
but yeah,
I think you gotta.
absolutely. I think you have to do this going forward. I think you have to try to do as much as you can to do these sort of events when you can. If you have any sort of additional event where you don't do it like the NBA does with that stupid NBA Cup that is totally
Ugh.
meaningless
Yeah.
and
Ugh.
no one plays and it's just they just threw it in for no reason. They threw it in. People didn't think it was going to be that big, but it got just because the players were invested. You have to get the players invested somehow. Otherwise, it's not going to work. If you have, then it ends up being the Pro Bowl. It ends up being the NBA All-Star Game. It
Right.
ends up being some sort of gimmicky kind of thing where no one's really playing. You have to find some way to get players invested, whether that's money, countries, whatever you got to do to get people in. But if the players are invested, you're going to get good games like this, and people are going to be watching. So
Yeah, and I think just the raising the competition level is huge too in terms of the actual event itself, right? It's not like you said, Mike. It's not a gimmicky event. It's a legitimate game that people were highly invested in. If you look at typical All-Star games or Pro Bowls or even the skills competitions, you'll catch it if it's on. You don't really have a vested interest in it. But again, like I said before, even the people that don't watch hockey were so invested in this because of not just because it was the countries, but because of how much the players were invested in it too, right? So yeah, I agree 100%.
Well, even next week, I think next Saturday night, and I think what the NHL does with this is brilliant. The
Yep.
Stadium Series. They're playing at Ohio State University. I guess that's called the Horseshoe. 100,000 people will be there for the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Detroit Red Wings, and I will be watching. And I went last year. I saw the Flyers play the Devils at MetLife Stadium. It's an amazing experience to be outdoor watching hockey. It's amazing,
Yeah, it's
and I
unique.
think the NHL's really onto something with this.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was done. I'm upset about the results, but I'm glad to see the NHL be back tonight. Devils play at 6 p.m. tonight, so I will be very happy with that. But now I want to go to something that I think is pretty funny because it should be no story, but it's a story. The Yankees have agreed to allow their players have facial hair. Now, yeah, exactly. Jeff, you could now be a Yankee. Mike,
could be
you
a
could
Yankee.
now be a Yankee. You could
that's
be
the only thing that was holding me back. I was
I know.
ready to play.
the
And now
only
they let me
thing.
play. Yeah. Well,
The
that
only thing.
that and the 057 I batted in Little League. Those two things together probably cost me the shot at it.
Yeah.
Jeff, what do you think about that?
So, well, first and foremost, it's about time, right? And I do understand why Hal wanted to keep that policy in place because it meant something to his dad, right? So I completely understand that standpoint, and that's the reason why he did it. I guarantee you he doesn't care if guys have beards personally, but I think just because his dad
Yeah.
had that policy, it was important to him. I don't buy that the Yankees lost free agents because of a beard policy. For an extra $10 million added to your market value, you're shaving your beard. There's no question about it, right? So,
I'll shave other parts too.
so does it really matter? Probably not, but I will say this: Devin Williams with the beard looks like a badass. Without the beard, he looks like a Boy Scout, right? So, and athletes are very superstitious. Like go back to Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter famously used to have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches before every game of his career. So if the
Really?
Yankees, he did. So if the Yankees banned peanut butter, maybe that affects Derek Jeter's mindset. Who the heck knows, right? So, but it was an outdated policy. Even the corporate world allows beards now. Police officers have beards, so it was outdated. But I really think it was just in place for so long because Hal wanted to keep his dad's tradition alive. But I'm glad it's
Mike,
over.
Mike, you
And
happy about this?
and the key part of it is well kept beards because you're not going to get Johnny Damon. You're not going to get these guys with these gigantic
Jason Worth.
filthy looking beards out there.
Yeah.
You're gonna get a nice trim look. It's modern. It's gonna be professional looking.
Yeah.
They're gonna tell you that if you're looking like Johnny Damon used to look on the Red Sox and half that team looked like, you're gonna have to trim it up or do something with it.
Yeah.
But
Well, a funny story, Mike. I was telling Jeff before we went live. Back in the late 70s, or maybe 80 or 81, Lou Piniella was complaining to George Steinbrenner that he wanted to grow his hair a little longer and have facial hair. And he said, George, even Jesus had long hair and a beard. And George Steinbrenner said to him, you see that pond over there? You walk across it, and I'll let you wear your hair as long as you want it.
By the way, can you imagine being the employee for the Yankees that has to walk up to a player and say, excuse me, sir, your beard is not groomed enough? Who's that guy who has to do that? It better be Hal, by the way. If that's going to be a Hal policy where it's I guess it's going to be opinion-based grooming, then Hal's got to be the guy to go and say, excuse me, Devin, you got to trim this down a half inch. Imagine having that job.
What they should do is hire a nun.
Yep.
Because when I was in 8th grade, they came into English class one time and they lined all the boys up along the blackboard, face to the blackboard. And they had a little ruler, and they would go on your neck and they would flip it and then go, okay, you're good, you're good. So they came up to me, and the nun looks at it and she leans in and she whispers to me, getting a little frisky, are you there? And she slams my head into the blackboard and says, get it cut. That's who you have to do.
Yep.
Because obviously a nun can handle a Giancarlo Stanton, or an Aaron Judge. A regular person cannot, but a nun can handle that.
Oh yeah, she'll get up on the stepladder to hit him with the ruler.
That's the only way she should be able to do it. But most of the beards in baseball aren't really wild anyway. There's only a select few that have like the Johnny Damon, Jason Worth look. Most of them have a clean cut. They get their fades every week, so I don't think it'll be a problem. But listen, it's funny you said this, Uncle Ted. Like, it shouldn't be a story, but this is actually a pretty big story. It's like front page news because it's been such a talked about topic for all these years. Should the Yankees allow beards? And we never thought it would happen. And it also happened out of nowhere. There was no like preemptive strike to this. It's just all of a sudden we see Hal Steinbrenner come out with a statement, and I'm sure the players are happy. So that's all that matters.
And the next thing that I want to bring up shows you what garbage human beings are, okay, in general, because we have a situation with the Mets. Okay, so Juan Soto signs with the Mets for, $1 billion. And in his contract, it says he gets number 22. That's it. So there's no way they say, well, you'll have to negotiate with the guy who has number 22. No, he's got 22. Brett Beatty, who was wearing number 22, just takes number 7. And he says in an interview, I don't care. It's fine. I'm happy to give Juan his number. Without having to do it, Juan Soto finds out that Brett Beatty's dream car is a Chevy Tahoe, which the base price is $60,000, and souped up the way he got it for him was around 93. And he gave that to Brett Beatty when he didn't have to, and people are saying, why would he only buy him a car after signing a $750 million contract? I thought that was pretty damn nice of him.
Who said that?
A lot of people around the internet are saying,
"Oh my God!
Oh, you make $750 million, you only buy him a truck."
That is ridiculous.
He didn't have to buy him anything. He didn't even have to buy him lunch.
No, there was no negotiating. It was already done. Beatty didn't have a choice, and it didn't sound like he was too upset. But the fact that Soto,
if you look at the video, Beatty is like off the wall, enjoying it. And hugging Juan. Mike, what do you think, Mike? Right, Mike? Am I wrong or right?
No, I think people need to look at something to get upset about online. They can't get upset about the Mets being cheap anymore because they can buy. They are putting this out there. So they're gonna find something to get mad about. But if that's the car you want, and that's the car that you've always wanted, like for me, it's a Mustang convertible.
Yeah.
That's not the most expensive car out there. It's a 40 grand for a nice one. I don't need a $100,000 car. I don't need that kind of stuff. So if your dream car is a Tahoe, get a nice Tahoe for 70 grand and call it a day. It's, not even a game check for Juan Soto at this point. So
Mike, Jeff, what's your dream car?
My dream car, a souped up Ford F-150.
Ooh.
Yeah, the new F-150s they just get better and better every year, especially the Raptor. That's another great car. So yeah, I would say
Yeah.
a souped up Ford F-150 would be my choice for sure.
When I was younger, I had two that were my dream cars. One was the AMC Pacer, and then the Gremlin. Okay. Now I think mine would actually be a Denali
Nice.
right now.
But I can promise you this, cars are the biggest waste of money on the planet. There's no reason, I had cheap cars, I had expensive cars, and I was happiest with the cheapest car because it gets you from A to B. It's cool for the first couple of days, a couple of weeks if you have a nice car, but it gets old after a while. Then you have this payment, you're like, what the heck was I thinking, right? So the dream car should be a one-time thing and then go back to the original car. That would be the best move.
the best way to do it is to rent it. When you go on vacation,
Yeah.
you rent the dream car. I just got back from San Diego. I got to rent they gave me a Mustang convertible as a compact car. And I had the best 3 days of my life driving that thing around downtown San Diego. So
And you're not stuck with a payment.
Yeah,
Fighting
right.
off the girls.
right.
And you're not stuck in a payment for 4 years.
Exactly.
So that's the move. That's a great idea.
It was $30 a day for that car, so I'll take it. So
Yep.
Mike, I'm going to tell you something funny. First of all, I know Jeff definitely does not give a crap what kind of car it is. He's got a really nice car. We played golf last year, and I was asking him questions about the car, and he had no answers about the car at all. Like I don't know. This is what it is. I don't know.
No clue.
The best was this is his mindset. Went to his apartment, and I went to turn the lights on that were over by where he has his TV. And I'm flicking light switches, and the lights just aren't going on. So I said to Jeff, which one of these switches controls the lights? Now, he's been in this apartment for how long? 4 years, Jeff?
Yeah, 4.5 years.
4.5 years.
Yeah.
His answer was, I don't know. I've never tried to turn them on. He had a suitcase next to the front door.
Oh, the suitcase.
And when we walked in, his mom says, oh, he must have just got back from traveling. She goes, Jeff, where'd you travel to? And he goes, Jersey. She goes, that was 5 months ago. He says, yeah, I dropped the suitcase there and I just never picked it up. And there were clothes in the suitcase.
And I wish I had a good explanation of why I do these things, but
You don't need
unfortunately,
it.
I don't need to.
Don't
This
need
is if that's just it is what it is. But that suitcase
You're
is still
single.
By the way, wait. That suitcase is still over here. By the way,
I
just to
love
let
it.
you know.
I love it. You're a
Oh,
single
God.
guy. You do what you want to do.
That suitcase is staying there until I leave. So that's the goal.
Me and Mike are going to live vicariously through you.
My
Heck, I
man.
was just gonna say that two married guys with kids
Oh,
live very envious of the single guy being able to leave a suitcase there because you know that my wife and your wife Ted would be on us the day after if that suitcase didn't get moved. Forget
Yeah.
5 months after.
Well, here's the situation. Yesterday was my granddaughter Mia's 5th birthday. And I'm down there. I made her this big Playmobil dollhouse. She was crazy. We had pizza. We had cake. Today is the kids' party at some trampoline park. My daughter Heather is upset because I'm not going to be there from 2 to 4 because I have comedy tonight. And she goes, oh, that's a little sketchy. Why do I have to be there watching 7 or 8 kids bouncing off the walls? Is it necessary for me to be there?
no.
Come on.
No, she wants you to get out there and rupture your Achilles on the trampoline, Ted. That's it. That's why she wants you there. She,
That definitely could be. That definitely could be. I know that spring training really just started. The Mets will play in a few hours after our recording for the first time. Yankees played yesterday. Mike, any observations on that?
Well, you know, they are slow playing both Judge and Stanton. Judge is not going to play until March 1st. Stanton's got an elbow injury. Shocker. I know he's hurt.
Yeah.
Just let him play in October. I don't care about the rest of the year. Make sure he's healthy in October and let him play. But it's the rite of spring. It's the Groundhog Day, St. Patrick's Day, and Giancarlo Stanton getting injured. I mean, it's just how it goes around springtime. I'm usually ready when I'm doing my Lenten fast. It's Giancarlo Stanton spring training games. I get it up for Lent. I wouldn't have to do anything all year. So
It's true.
What about you, Mike? Jeff, rather, any observations so far, or is it too early?
Yeah, it's a little too early to have actual analysis on how the team's going to be. We kind of gave our opinions a little bit on the last show, but I think the big news for the Yankees, for me at least, is extending Boone. And I thought personally that was the right move. We didn't want to go into the season with a lame duck manager, right? And not just that. I mean, Aaron Boone, for whatever reason, gets a bad rap with Yankee fans. And I've always been a Boone guy. People forget that Aaron Boone has over 600 wins in 7 years, and that includes the COVID year, which I think the Yankees won 34 games that year. So add another 60 wins to his total. The guy's a damn good manager, right? And some Yankee fans, they want him fired, but as hard as it is to win a championship, which is why they want him fired, it's even harder to find a manager or a coach that can get you to the playoffs every year, which is exactly what he does. So I've always been of that mindset, whether it's a manager, a coach, or a quarterback. If you can get my team to the playoffs every single year, you're not going to lose your job until that stops happening, right? Because it's one of these things where you got to keep rolling the dice in the playoffs. As long as you get there and you have that consistency, you can't take that risk of firing that guy who keeps getting you there to bring somebody in who may be worse, right? So I think extending Boone was a good thing. Again, I'm a huge Boone fan. I always have been. When you can hand select things that he's done wrong and count it on one hand, right, with certain moves that drove people nuts, you're doing a pretty good job, right? So I'm excited. To me, that's the big news, having him for another 2 years, and now we can manage comfortably. So it's a good thing.
Mike, you like Boone?
I'm good with Boone. I don't think he's a net negative to the team. I think if the team wants to play for him and the team seems like they want to run through a wall for him, I'm good with that. I think the only times I ever have issues with him is when you're on sort of a losing streak and he just kind of says, "Oh, we're just going through it." I'd like to see a little more fire out of him when it comes to that kind of thing sometimes, and I love it when he gets ejected from those games. I love the passion that he brings out, going after the umpires, defending his guys when he can. So, I agree with you, Jeff. You can't have him be a lame duck this year. You have to extend him out for 2 years. And hopefully one of those 2 years we get a championship, and then he'll be extended for, a little bit further, I would think. So.
That's the game plan. And Mike, I agree with the fire. You want to see a little more of that. And you can also say his fire is directed in the right direction, right? To the umpires, not the team. I think we live in a different time now with these athletes where, if you have like that Tom Coughlin, Lou Piniella approach, that may be a negative to some of these guys. It's a different way to manage and coach nowadays. So I think he does have that fire. But like I remember, just to your point, Mike, when Gleyber Torres was dogging it all year last year, you never really saw any kind of action. Maybe I think once he benched him, but there wasn't enough. So I think as a manager, especially nowadays, it's kind of hard to find that line of being tough on these guys, but also managing the room to make sure it doesn't, they start turning against you. Right? I think overall he does a good job at doing that.
I just love his voice. Kermit the Frog here.
He does sound like Kermit the Frog.
I would like to have Gleyber play a little better, maybe run a little harder. But, sometimes, you're out the night before. You never know what's going on. But
our guys are savages.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that's bothering me this week, and I'm going to go on record. So if it happens and things turn out against what I'm thinking, you guys can throw it right in my face. I do not want the Jets to be entertaining trading for the number one pick. Because I do not believe that either Cam Ward or Shador Sanders are worthy of the number 1, 2, or 3 pick. And if that happens and they draft one of them and they become tremendous, I'll eat crow. But I don't think, to me again, take Mason Graham from Michigan. If somehow Carter drops down, take him. And then worry about quarterback later. Listen, I'm in the Justin Fields camp. So I would be, he was a first round pick. He was great in college. Why is he not as good as CJ Stroud if he gets the opportunity and the coaching?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I am.
You saw him play half the season last year in Pittsburgh, where he played
4-2.
well. Right.
Yeah, he did well.
Right. And look how Russell Wilson finished the year off. I mean, he had a couple of good games in there, but he ended up not doing what they needed to do at the end of the season. So for me, I could certainly live with Justin Fields as the quarterback going forward. The kind of a correction from that draft where you take Zach Wilson. So,
but I'll also say if the regime wants to do this, although I will be against it, I understand if they want to start fresh their own way. I just don't see them being looking for headlines, basically. I don't see them doing that. I really don't. But if they do, I'm going to be internally very upset.
Well, keep in mind, too, Aaron Glenn is in a position where he doesn't have to rush.
Correct.
There's no reason to use valuable assets to move up to get guys that, frankly, aren't really worth the top 10 pick probably, but they're only getting picked because there's no quarterbacks in this draft, right? But I do think the Jets have to sign a veteran. I don't think there's any question about that. Even if they end up drafting a quarterback this year, with the talent that they have, in addition to finally having who I believe, and I think you guys believe, is going to be at least a decent to good head coach, that they really need to get a guy that has experience and can potentially win with this team. I mean, that division, you look at the AFC East, outside of the Bills, it's not exactly the NFC North.
Exactly.
And the Jets historically, I don't know, you guys probably know better than me in terms of numbers, but they do pretty well against the Bills, even when they're underdogs and they're not having a great year, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Zach Wilson beat them, the Aaron Rodgers year.
Yeah.
But as far as, trading up for one of these guys, the Giants will probably do that before the Jets because I feel like Dable is in this rush to get a quarterback. But the Jets,
he's got pressure on him.
He's got a lot of pressure. Aaron Glenn has, I don't want to say zero, but he's got way less pressure than someone like Dable. So I think they have to get a veteran. I'm not saying they shouldn't draft a quarterback in the upcoming draft. They probably should. But I would certainly not trade valuable assets to get one of these guys who in a regular draft is probably, second or late second round.
Yeah.
And I want conviction with whatever they decide to do.
Yeah.
If they think that one of these guys is the guy and they are like in that movie Draft Day where it's the card where it says the pick no matter what.
No matter what.
If that's not the case, then there's no reason why you need to trade up to get a quarterback just to get one. If they have conviction about one of these guys, then go for it. If they don't, then stay where you are. Get yourself the tight end that you need. Get yourself another offensive lineman or a pass rusher at that point, because in that part of the draft, I think that's where you're going to find the value is in either the tight end that's still there. If you're looking at a pass rusher, that's where you're going to look for there.
Jeff, you said you did or did not see the movie Draft Day?
I saw it a long time ago, but I know you watch it every year before the draft, right?
I watch it more than once every year.
I know that's your favorite
movie.
Yeah.
So that would make me angry to the point where I would want to fight somebody. So speaking of fighting, we had a fan Jeff, what was his last name, Jeff?
Jeff Amato, one of my
Jeff
buddies
Amato.
down here. Yep.
He's a big UFC guy, and he wanted us to talk a little bit about UFC. I'm not into the UFC. Mike, are you into the UFC?
I'm a casual UFC fan. I will watch some of the ones that are on for free. If I go out to a bar that night and it's on, I will certainly watch it. I follow some of the people, some of the older ones. I remember, John Jones and GSP back in the day. So that's kind of my UFC fandom.
Mhm.
I've
Well,
gone to a
Jeff
couple
is our
myself.
resident. Jeff is our resident UFC expert. So what Jeff Amato wanted was he wanted the same way Mikey gives his degenerate pick every week. He wanted, if there's something big going on, a UFC pick. So Jeff, the floor is yours. Now, before he says this, I want to say this. We do not condone gambling of any kind. We don't want you to take money that you don't have to gamble on anything that Mike or Jeff says or I say. We're just giving you our ideas of how we in our own way might make a little bit extra money on the side, if you know what I'm talking about. So,
Yeah,
that's
Jeff,
right.
if you were to gamble, or let's say you wanted to bet cheddar goldfish, how would you do that tonight with the UFC?
So, typically what we'll do with the UFC is the big events, right? The names that people know. But Jeff, my man, this one's for you because I know you want to hear some picks from me. And what we'll also do, what I'll do is give you guys parlays as opposed to one fights, because parlays in the UFC are great because the fights are so fast, right? So you either lose very quickly or you win very quickly. And the good news is tonight, I'm going to give you guys a 3-legged parlay, and it's going to be the last 3 fights on the card. So it's not like you have to watch the first fight, win or let's say you win that one, and then wait another couple of hours. So the first one we're going to go with is Rob Font, who is minus 200 over Gene Matsumoto. Second fight, which is the co-main event, we're going to go Anthony Hernandez, who's minus 140 over Brandon Allen. And tonight, the main event is between a legend, a guy who's 38 years old. His name is Henry Cejudo. Yeah, a little old to be fighting, but his name is Henry Cejudo. He's one of the best fighters of all time. The problem that he has is he's fighting a guy that's 27. And this is one of the lighter weights. These guys are 125, 135 pounds. So
my
the
birth
lighter
weight.
the lighter weights are typically you go with the younger guy. Okay, so I'm gonna go Song Yadong, just in case you guys didn't hear that. Song Yadong, that's his name. SONG space YADONG. Okay,
Nice.
and I got him minus 135 over Henry Cejudo. So Rob Font, Anthony Hernandez, Song Yadong, my 3-legged parlay.
Jeff, if I bet 10 pretzel goldfish, what would that get me? Do you know?
I gotta look. It's different on every site. I don't have the exact number, but it'll be decent. It'll be decent. I think
so
it'll
I
be
can
decent.
get maybe a snack pack bag of pretzel goldfish if I win.
If you bet 2, you'll get a snack pack. I would say that's pretty accurate. Yeah.
Nice.
I think that's
nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
That's a great lead in to our degenerate pick of the week. Now, Mike did make one last week. Mike, do you want to give us the results of that?
The Hungarian handball team did not win their game. They were beaten pretty handily by 15 points.
Wow.
I think in handball that's a lot, but I don't know too much about it. So
do they play with that pink? Do they play with that pink ball, Mike, like we used to have when we were kids?
No, not that one. No, it's like it's almost like a smaller soccer ball where you could almost palm it. And that's the kind of material that they use for that, I believe. I'm not.
But you lost.
Yeah, but I did lose. Yes, correct.
All right. Well, hey, listen. You can't. You can't be 1,000%.
Correct.
So, what about this week, though? What do you got? What do you got cooking in that head of yours?
So there's 2 things that I have. One is going to be actually a UFC pick, and it's strictly based on the fighter's spouse. So I am going to pick against Austin Vanderford. He is
Paige.
fighting. Paige Van Zandt is his wife. And I don't know how you could train with her being your wife
Yeah.
and focus on the fighting. So
I know.
I don't think he's going to do well tonight. He only got the fight about a week ago, so I don't think he was training as much. So I'm going to take Nikolai Vertenikov. Yeah.
Okay.
As my UFC pick for the night. But if we want to go true degenerate, we're going to go over to Europe into the Czech Republic table tennis. We're going to take Akito Adagati, Japanese table tennis player, against Johan Barrios. You're getting plus 310 odds on Adagati. So if I'm going to take a Japanese ping pong player over a Czech ping pong player, and I could get plus money on it, I'm going to take that every single time. So
I concur.
Is that tonight?
that is today at 3:30 p.m. on Saturday. Saturday at 3:30 p.m. So get it in quick if you're going to be interested in that.
All right. Hey, I want to mention one thing. Next Friday in Newtown, PA, I will be seeing Mike. I'm actually opening the comedy show for Rich Boss, who is a legend. I think there might be 2 tickets available. It's an 8 or 8:30 show. So if you want to go to thecomedyshop.com and see if you can pick up those last 2 tickets. And if you are a listener, say hello to me or Mikey, because we'll both be out there.
It is my birthday on Friday too, so don't forget that as well.
Oh, this could get sloppy.
This could be a mess at the clubhouse afterward, Ted.
All right. Well, any parting thoughts, Jeff?
Yeah, listen, I think, people think this is a slow time of year for sports, but we always find things to talk about. To me, there's never really a quote unquote slow time of year.
No.
There's just slower times of the year, right? There's obviously no football, all-star breaks and all that right now, but we'll always have something to talk about. And yeah, everyone have a great rest of the week and enjoy the games and enjoy hockey and basketball being back.
Yeah,
Mikey, an early happy birthday to you.
Yes,
sir.
Thank you. And,
Happy birthday.
This time of year is always like I said, one of my favorite times of the year is the springtime. You see those first couple of pitches of spring training baseball. March Madness is coming into play. You're looking at opening days for baseball. So hope springs eternal this time of year. And so I'm looking forward to that over the next couple of weeks.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for joining us. Please like and subscribe. Email us. Let us know what you want us to talk about. And listen, if you have something really good, we may even invite you and come on the show for 5 minutes and you can tell us what's going on. Until then, guys, I'll see you next week.